The European Union has ordered Apple to pay $14.5 billion in unpaid taxes to Ireland. This comes more than 2 decades after Ireland and Apple struck up a deal. In exchange for Apple bringing jobs to Ireland, the company paid a lower tax rate. The EU claims that deal allowed Apple to channel their European sales through Ireland and benefit from a low tax bill. David Nelson, chief strategist at Belpointe Asset Management, is here. All right, a lot to dig into here, David. So Tim Cook has come out and said, quote, it's not about how much Apple pays. He basically said this was an effort to rewrite Apple's history in Europe, ignore Ireland's tax laws, and upend the international tax system.
It's not surprising that this is what Tim Cook was said. He's certainly trying to defend the company. This is really just the beginning of a larger conversation on corporate tax reform, and it's probably going to cut over into the election cycle here as we head into November. The numbers are pretty compelling. Europe is going after 13 billion euros in back taxes over the last decade. It's about 14.5 billion U.S. And there appear to be 3 entities here: Apple Operations Europe, Apple International Sales, where a lot of the profits are funneled into that. But it seems a lot of that profit gets funneled into a third entity called head office. And that doesn't seem to have a tax status anywhere. And that's part of an arrangement that they have with Ireland. So the effective tax rate that Apple's paying on European sales is something like 1%. So it's not surprising that they would try to go after it. So the rhetoric around the world and the reaction is getting pretty heated.
So is this right? Ireland does not necessarily want Apple's money?
They're thinking in the long run because they don't want to change. You know, they're considered a tax haven,
right,
and a lot of companies go there. So in the short run, they might get a lot of money for Ireland. By the way, if they collect that money and it holds, you and I are probably the ultimate people who pay that.
And why is that?
Because back here in the U.S., any taxes that they pay over there, some of that is going to be written off on taxes that they owe here in the U.S. So Ireland doesn't want that, and Michael Noonan, who's the finance minister, really went after the EC pretty hard on this, saying that it's Europe is trying to usurp their sovereign law. So even the administration weighed on it today. From the White House press room, Josh Earnest talked about it. And the administration would like to see a more unilateral approach. But as long as corporate tax codes are as complex as this, you know, this type of situation is born out of the complexity. Our tax code in the United States is about 77,000 pages long. And you can bet most of that is how to get out of paying taxes. It's all about the loopholes. And the only ones who benefit here are really tax attorneys and accountants.
So what does this mean for other companies that might have similar deals?
Apple's just one. I mean, you can bet that companies like Starbucks, Amazon, McDonald's, really any U.S. multinational company that's generating profits from overseas, and we have some 2 trillion sitting offshore. Apple alone has 200 billion sitting offshore, and the United States would like to see that money come back. As long as we have such a complex tax structure and an onerous tax system here, that money's never coming back.
All right. Tax reform. Difficult thing, though, in the political
world.
All right. David Nelson, thank you so much.